So it was 3 years ago in New York when Cadillac finally took off the wraps for their CT6 flagship luxury sedan. Now, when I first tested this car back in 2016, I came away very impressed. Now, this time Cadillac has loaned me a 2018 model. As you can see, it doesn't look too different. However, in a market full of crossover-hungry buyers, how does this current 2018 model stack up? That's what we're here to find out. So back when Cadillac first unveiled the CT6, the company claimed this wasn't their flagship model and that an even bigger CT8 was coming. However, as Americans shifted toward crossovers, Cadillac canceled plans for a CT8, so this technically is still the company's biggest and most expensive sedan. You can see when this design debuted, it sports the current design language we've seen from Cadillac, the kind of next generation of their art and science design theme. You have LED headlights, which are standard at the front. It's got the signature running lights that go from the top of the fender up to the lower part of the fascia. My Tester also has LED fog lights in the lower part of the bumper. And overall, I think the design has actually aged really well. I think that Cadillac really has a very distinctive look that really stands out, especially when you have a lot of sedans out there that look very similar. You can see here it's got the current Cadillac logo at the front with the wreathless crest, which I think was a good move on their part. And this sedan definitely has a nice presence to it. I think it looks especially good in this particular one with the platinum trim with the 20-inch wheels. Now this car, as you guys know, rides on the Omega platform. It's a new platform compared to the CTS. It's not just a stretch CTS. It's a very strong, light platform. And this is a big sedan, although it is somewhat of a tweener. Its wheelbase is about 122 inches long. Overall length is about 204 inches long. So compared to the mid-size competition, it's about 10 to 12 inches longer. So it's a pretty big vehicle, nearly S-Class size and dimensions. Now at the rear, again, you have similar design themes from other Cadillac products, the vertical stacked tail lights that are full LED. My Tester, being the 3-liter TT model, has quad outlet exhaust, and it certainly looks nice. I kind of wish it had a little bit of a spoiler here, although you can get that as a dealer accessory. As you guys saw at the New York Auto Show, I showed you the CT6 V Sport, which has a twin-turbo V8, which I'm looking forward to driving. Now, because My Tester is the fully loaded platinum trim, it does have the gesture control power tailgate or trunk lid. If you guys have the key fob on you, you can just open the trunk lid from that. But if you want to open up the trunk lid here, I like the fact that it is power. And then the trunk capacity is around 15.5 cubic feet, which is about a cubic foot or two smaller than most of the competition. So just keep that in mind if you guys are actually planning to use the trunk capacity. The seats themselves, they don't fold down, but it does have a little bit of a pass-through, which is nice, which is kind of a norm with the rest of the segment. So when you first approach the CT6, you'll notice that smart key access system with push-button start is standard. Here's the current Cadillac key fob. It does include a power opening trunk function and remote start. To activate remote start, push the lock button and then push and hold this button here. The engine fires up. To shut off the remote start, just push and hold this button again, and then the engine will shut off for you. Now, as you approach the CT6, you're going to notice there's a button on the door handle here. This also will light up at night, which is really nice. There's some nice accent lighting to help you find the car. To lock the door, just touch this button here. That locks it. To unlock it, you have to also touch the button again. There's no sensor on the back of the handle. Now, looking at the interior of the CT6, you're going to notice quite a few things here. Now, first of all, My Tester has the black leather interior. It's not my preferred choice. Cadillac does offer like a light cashmere interior. Unfortunately, it also changes the color of the dash to be a light color, which I don't particularly like. I wish they offered like a two-tone. They don't even offer like a brown or a red leather, which is kind of strange considering this is their flagship, and flagship buyers are kind of used to having a lot of choices, especially with the interior. You can see these seats, they are 20-way adjustable. They are 15-way massaging, and the actual seat controls are found here on the door, similar to a Mercedes. To activate the massage, you push this button here. But overall, it's a nice, welcoming cabin, if just a little bit dark, and I wish Cadillac offered a little bit more in terms of interior color choices besides beige or black. But stepping into the interior of the CT6, you're going to notice, again, it has a typical low step-in height for a sedan. This isn't a crossover, thank goodness. But when you shut the door, it sounds pretty solid. This is the Omega platform. It's a really new platform still. And you can see here there's two LCD screens in My Tester because I have the fully loaded model. Now to start the vehicle up, just put your foot on the brake and then push this button here to fire up the engine. Now you can see my tester also has a head-up display, which is nice. This is the full LCD display in the center. It's a 12-inch display, and then you have a 10-inch display here for the Cadillac Q user experience. You saw the audio system here rise up. My tester has the optional 34-speaker pan-array audio system, which actually does come standard on the Platinum. It's optional on the premium luxury trim. Now, looking at the rest of this interior here, it hasn't really changed from the 2016 model that I showed you. It's still all soft leather on the actual dashboard here. It's got some real wood grain accents, although I don't like how they are shiny gloss. I'd prefer the low sheen gloss. There's some carbon fiber trim here on this lower portion. And then when you look at the door panels here, it's also leather right here, just like on the dash. There's a nice aluminum door handle here. It's all padded right here. You have window controls here that are kind of aluminum tinted. They're one touch for all four. I wasn't expecting less in a flagship model. You have two-person memory seats, although some competitors give you three people. It's kind of a small niggle that I have there. But overall, down here, it's actually hard touch plastic, which is surprising to me, and then it's not lined in any felt there. Some competitors give you slightly better materials, and the door panels, this plastic here feels a little bit cheap as well. Looking at the steering wheel here, it also hasn't changed aside from the fact that this is the sensor here for the Super Cruise, and there's the camera that stares at your face. If you guys look away, if your eyes look away, your head turns, it'll know that. This gauge display here is customizable. You can kind of change it based on, using these buttons here. You can put different displays in the actual display if you'd like. My tester also has night vision because this is a fully loaded Platinum model. It works really well at night. It puts the screen there at night and shows you, an infrared scan of whatever it sees out on the road. Down here, you can see here, this is the Cadillac User Experience Q. It's got a bunch of touch-sensitive buttons here. This is before Cadillac started getting rid of those. You can see there's a button here, or a slider to actually turn the volume on and off. There's a mute button here. This is the home button here. It takes you back to the home display. You can see there's how you access your rear seat entertainment system. The navigation function, it's the usual Cadillac navigation system. Nothing really too fancy here. I actually think the navigation graphics could use a little bit of an updating, especially for this particular model, because it's the fully loaded version. But overall, it works kind of like a tablet. You can pinch, you can zoom, you can swipe. This bigger screen kind of allows you to, show all your different presets right here if you'd like. I'm trying to make this go away. Which it's not really working out for me right now. But nevertheless, if you put the vehicle into reverse, you do have a 360 camera system that is concluded, I believe, on the luxury trim and up, or maybe the premium luxury. I'll have to double check that. It does have trajectory. It has 360 views. It has parking sensors front and rear. This also has rear backup assist, where if it senses you're going to back into something, it'll automatically hit the brakes. Cadillac, I believe, was one of the first to introduce that, which is definitely nice. Going back to the home screen here, you can see projection is Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That's really nice. You kind of expect that. You have, its own little camera system here that's kind of always recording data, which is nice. It's part of an option package that my tester has. Climate, you can see here, accesses your climate controls. It will read text messages aloud to you. I mean, this interface is nice. It has all the technology you're expecting. I just think that the actual user interface needs a redo. This is to access your automatic parallel parking function. I believe they updated it this year, so it also handles the throttle pedal and the brakes. So you basically can go truly hands-free. This turns off the automatic start-stop, and then that turns off your parking sensors. To access the glove compartment, push this button here, or it's not even the button, it's a sensor, and it opens up. It's lined with felt. It's a pretty good size. Your quad zone climate controls are right here. You can see this is where you access your ventilated and heated seats, which are definitely nice. They are actual buttons, not an actual touch button. You have to actually push in on that pad. There is a cup holder right here that gives you a little bit of storage. There's also a little touchpad here that allows you to control the screen from this if you'd like. Cadillac is actually getting rid of this. You guys saw the refreshed CT6 now has a rotary wheel, kind of going with everyone else. There's a dedicated back button here. One thing this car is kind of lacking is some good storage space. I mean, you have storage here, and then there's a wireless charging pad for your phone here, but everything else is kind of lacking in terms of storage. I was running out of places to put keys, put my phone, put my wallet, stuff like that when I get into this vehicle. The steering wheel over here, you can see it has some buttons here, lots of buttons for your heated steering wheel controls, your lane keep assist, the Super Cruise function. This is the actual Super Cruise button. It's got paddle shifters. The wheel itself is power tilt telescoping, which is kind of what you expect in this segment of vehicle. Although I do wish that the actual wheel telescoped came out a little bit closer to me for reach. That's just a personal preference. No power adjustable pedals are available on this car. You can see there are controls here for the parking brake, which is automatic, and then your head-up display where you can adjust the actual sensitivity and the brightness of it. The display, or the console here, is pretty small. Again, it does have two USB ports and then a wireless charging pad here. The lid here is nice and padded. The seats, I find them to be pretty comfortable. I just wish that they offered something more other than just black or cashmere beige leather. I wish I had some like contrasting stitching, but they are adjustable 20 ways. Above you, there's a big panoramic sunroof, although it has a little area here that cuts it off, but it gives you a nice light from the front, from the back. The headliner is made of a suede Alcantara material. There's some nice amount of buttons here for the sunroof controls and for all these sunshades. This car does have LED lighting throughout. I mean, overall, the cabin does have a little bit of, you know, GM part sharing here, like the switchgear I'm seeing from like a Chevy product. But nonetheless, they've done a really good job at making this feel nice. It just needs to be a little bit warmer, and they need to offer a little bit more in terms of color choices, especially for people who buy a vehicle in this segment. So with any full-size large sedan, the back seat is very important for potential buyers, and Cadillac, where they have a strong demographic in China, they sell a lot of these based on how big the back seat is. And you can see this particular one is a hell of a lot nicer than the last CT6 that I tested because it has kind of this like executive rear seat upgrade package. The seats themselves, they are adjustable. They recline, you can adjust the seat back angle. They are heated and cooled from these buttons over here, which is really nice. And they actually give you a massage. You can push this button right here. It gives you like a 5-way massage, similar to the front seat. So I was not expecting that. That's definitely a huge plus. You can't get this in the mid-size competitors that this car kind of competes with. Now, my tester also has a lot of controls here. You have this, you know, manual sunshade here. You have buttons here where you can close the sunroof shade, the rear shade behind you if you want a little bit extra privacy. And then with being a platinum model, you have the standard DVD entertainment system here with the dual screens that pop in and out. You can kind of plug in an HDMI port. You can then insert a Blu-ray disc, which is really nice. There's some storage here you can see here. Here's the remote control to control it all. You have some wireless headphones here that's nice and gives you a little bit of storage here. You have some cup holders. I mean, I can see why the seats don't fold down because really they put all the magic into this back seat. And I think those of you who just want to actually hire someone to drive you around are going to be pretty damn impressed with the rear seat capabilities of this particular CT6. So when the CT6 debuted, it introduced an all-new top engine for Cadillac, and my tester sports that. It's the 3-liter twin-turbo V6. This engine is offered in all-wheel drive only, and it's standard on this particular platinum grade. Now, the numbers are pretty nice, 404 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque, so it's a nice good engine for this size vehicle. Now, Cadillac offers a plethora of engines in this particular sedan, kind of like the rest of its competitors, ranging from a 2-liter turbo 4, a 2-liter turbo 4 with a plug-in hybrid, a 3.6 natural aspirated V6, and then now that 4.2 V8. Now, this particular combination weighs around 4,300 pounds. At the lightest, this car weighs 3,700 pounds, so it's about 1,000 pounds lighter than a lot of its competitors. Now, fuel economy is also not bad. It's rated at 1826 on premium for this engine. All CT6 use an 8-speed automatic with either rear or all-wheel drive like my tester. Let's get out on the road and see how it performs, shall we? So although it's been about 2 years since I showed you a full review on the CT6, I actually drove this just last year on a very cool media drive where Cadillac had me drive from New Mexico all the way to Santa Monica, California to try out the Super Cruise. And I have to say, I was very impressed with it then. But now that I have it back on my local roads here in DC, I want to see how the Super Cruise actually performs, because in my last video, I showed you that the CT6 is a killer on back roads. I mean, this is one of the most fun to drive big sedans you could buy in the segment. And it really is the case still with this new one, but I want to try how this thing is on the open highway, because that's where a lot of the majority of these full-size sedans are going to be. They're going to be out on the open road, and that's really where their Super Cruise is going to shine. So we're going to get out here on the interstate. The interstate that I'm going to get on is 66 westbound. If you guys are familiar with the DC area, you'll know. And I found that the Super Cruise only worked on the actual interstate. That's kind of where the LiDAR mapping comes into play. It will use predictiveness or predictive road looking ahead to where it'll basically tell you, or it knows where the road's going, if it knows any construction and whatnot. But first of all, this one here, it's still fast. This is the twin turbo V6, which basically replaces a V8 in terms of power, although Cadillac is reintroducing a V8. This engine is just, my God, it's still a great powertrain for this car. It'll still get to 60 in around 5 seconds, which is fantastic. Now, when Super Cruise is active, or when it's ready, basically what it'll do is you center yourself in the lane. Now, you have to drive center in between the 2 lane markings. Once you do that, you'll see a gray steering icon appear in the instrument panel display. When that appears, you can turn it on. Now, first thing you have to do really is turn on the adaptive cruise function. There's 3 levels of cruise control in this car. And then once that's on, then you can push this button here, and that turns on the Super Cruise. You can see there's a big green LED light bar that goes across the steering wheel. And this is where Cadillac is the first brand to say, you can do this. I'm gonna go ahead and take my hands off the wheel, I'm gonna keep watching the road because that camera is looking at your eyes. It's looking at your eyes and it's looking at your face. If I look this way, if I look down, I'm gonna look down right now. It actually didn't pick that up there, so that was interesting. I'm gonna look this way. See, it starts blinking because it knows. It knows that my eyes have looked to the right, looking at the camera, and it knows. Now, if I turn my head completely, let's turn it this way. And it doesn't take long. It takes only about like 3 seconds, and then it starts beeping at you and blinking. But you can see here, here's a curve in the road. This car is actually steering for me. As you can see, my hands are still crossed. My feet isn't touching the brake. The car is actually steering for me and keeping it nicely centered in the lane. And it's doing that because it's using the radar sensor, it's using the laser sensor, whatnot. It's using the camera that's in the mirror here, and it's using LiDAR mapping, where somebody at Cadillac has actually mapped all the roads here in the United States. And I think they also used Canada. And the car basically knows where the road's going. Now, there are instances where the Super Cruise will not be able to detect things. If it senses that there's construction, if it sees there's construction up ahead, it'll turn off automatically. It'll tell me to resume control of the car. But this is just a really cool thing. I mean, this to me is the next generation of driving. Now, even though Cadillac doesn't like to say this is level 3 autonomy. Level 3 autonomy basically allows you to do this. They still want the driver to be attentive. They still want you to be focused on the road, looking at the road. But this kind of frees up your hands. As long as you're looking at the road, you can free up your hands so you can kind of do this. The worst thing I found is I would pick up my phone, but then as I look at my phone, look down at my phone, the car would start bitching at me, telling me that my eyes are not looking at the road. And then when it does that, it'll actually shut the system off. So what happens if I just completely ignore it? I'm gonna completely ignore it right now. I'm just not gonna look at it. It's gonna start beeping, or it's gonna start blinking. See, it's starting to blink. And then if I'm not gonna respond, it's gonna actually start beeping at me and vibrating my seat. It says Super Cruise disengaging, take control of the wheel. So that basically tells me, hey, the car is saying you're not paying attention. Maybe it thinks you've fallen asleep. If you keep doing that and you completely ignore it, it'll bring the car to a complete stop. And it'll call OnStar because it kind of is afraid that you fell asleep at the wheel or something like that. But honestly, in terms of driving in rush hour traffic, I hate the traffic here in Northern Virginia. It's the DC area is basically one of the tops in the country in terms of worst traffic. This is super relaxing because I can just kind of just drive here, just ignore the traffic, just let the car handle the steering, the throttle, the braking. I mean, this is just phenomenal. This is next gen driver assist technology stuff, and it's here. Cadillac was one of the first to offer it. Now Audi is supposedly offering or working on their level 3, their full level 3 autonomy in terms of driver assistance, but that hasn't come out yet. They're saying it'll come out in 2019, but really if you're looking for something that's right now, the CT6 is the vehicle that's going to deliver it. Now, the one thing that Super Cruise won't do for you is it won't change lanes. Like in a Mercedes, I could signal right and it'll change lanes for me, not Super Cruise. When I signal right, it actually will turn blue to let you know that it's given up control. And then once you've turned off the signal, it'll resume control. It'll turn green again. But that's kind of how it lets you know that, hey, I know that you're trying to change lanes. You've signaled properly. You didn't drive like a jackass and just turn without actually signaling. And it lets you, take control of the vehicle for that short instance. This is seriously so cool. I've definitely had people look at me like funny because I'm sitting here driving like this, or I'm driving like this, and the car keeps driving, and they're just like, what the f? All right, so what if you just want to move over without signaling? What if you want to be that guy? It'll still let you do it. It just turns the wheel blue. And Super Cruise, what it also knows is it knows that if you're going onto an exit ramp, like right now, I went into an exit ramp and it says Super Cruise disengaging, take vehicle control. That's all because of that LiDAR mapping system. It knows that I'm trying to exit here. It knows that I'm not on the interstate anymore, and that's why it shuts itself off. So what about the rest of the driving dynamics of the CT6? Now, as I said in my last review, it hasn't really changed. This is still an immensely fun to drive full-size sedan that feels a lot smaller than its size would suggest, and that's really the beauty of the CT6. It's a lot lighter than a lot of its competitors. And now it is a big vehicle, and you feel its size when you're behind the wheel. That's not going to change, of course, but really when you start attacking some corners, when you start like really hustling the sedan, you leave it in its sport mode here where it shows the checker flags. This is one immensely fun to drive vehicle that's also quick. The auto start stop actually is relatively quick. Oh yeah, this thing is fast. I cannot wait to drive the twin turbo V8 version of this car. It's just gonna be like a sub 4-second car. This already is a sub 5-second car. The V8 will be even quicker, and honestly, the 8-speed automatic in this car also is a GM design transmission. It's a good transmission. It has smooth, refined shifts. It's exactly what you expect. in this segment of vehicle. And you can see here, wow, you wouldn't expect to take corners like this in this type of car, but God, the CT6 just eats it right up. Oh yeah. Oh, listen to the way that sounds. That's fantastic. Wow. And honestly, you know, it's still really quiet for a luxury sedan. This has the adaptive suspension, so if you put it here into its touring mode, or even in sport mode, I could daily this in sport mode. It's very, very smooth in terms of the ride quality. It's really quiet in here, and the only thing you hear is just that engine noise that sounds nice. It does have a little bit of times where I notice it's a little grainy. It's that typical, you know, GM sound of a V6, but it's not a deal breaker for me. It's just a little bit more grainy than some of its competitors. The new Lexus LS comes to mind. Its V6 is definitely smoother and quieter, and its 10-speed transmission is a little bit quicker and smarter, has those extra gears, but nonetheless, my God, I mean, visibility in here is really good, aside from those stupidly small side mirrors. I hate them. Now, I did get used to them, and this car has blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. I just don't understand why Cadillac put these teeny tiny mirrors on this big sedan. The pillar here is a little chunky, but again, once you get used to the dimensions, it's a relatively easy car to drive, and you just, you know, kind of just put it out here on the open road, and it's just fantastic. You're really going to, you know, just enjoy driving this on long roads, on back roads. You know, it's a comfortable car. I'm getting a massage here. It's heated and cooled seats. I mean, this is the reason why flagship sedans are just so incredibly useful and so incredibly nice. They just remind you that you've basically made it. They're just a really great car to live with on an everyday, daily basis, even when you're stuck in this kind of bullcrap rush hour traffic like this. Wow, it sensed that F-150 that cut me off completely right there. It did bite on the brakes pretty hard, but you know, that's could be expected. Again, this is why I don't like adaptive cruise control systems, because it leaves this big gap and people cut you off, and it's just kind of annoying. So in the large full-size luxury sedan segment, the CT6 is kind of a hidden gem. Cadillac doesn't sell too many of these. In fact, I think they moved around 10,000 units in all of 2017, which definitely makes it a low-volume model. It's definitely a car that will impress a lot of people. Now, after spending a week with this 2018 model, what really shocked me the most is just how sporty this car is to drive. You know, I've had a chance to drive a lot of its competitors, and this is still one of the most fun to drive, most nimble large luxury sedans in the segment. Its Super Cruise technology is really groundbreaking, with the fact that you can drive hands-free on the interstate, as you guys saw in the test drive. It makes it truly a technologically advanced vehicle worthy of the Cadillac badge if you guys are looking for a full-size large luxury sedan. So with all that said, what's it going to cost to put one of these in your driveway? Well, the base 2-liter turbo with rear-wheel drive starts at about $55,000, which makes it about $20,000 less expensive than the new Lexus LS, and about half the price of what you're going to pay for a Mercedes-Benz S-Class. Literally, it's about the same price as the mid-size offerings like an A6 or a BMW 5 Series for far more space on the interior. Now, my tester, being the Platinum trim, is obviously significantly more. It's basically maxed out. If you guys spend like another $2,000, you can get all-wheel drive. Like another $5,000 to $10,000 will get you like a mid-trim level model. This one stickers for about $87,000, plus a couple of options like the upgraded wheels, the upgraded paint. This one's around $89,000, which is the most expensive way you can get a CT6 today, which is a lot of money, but again, that's where a Mercedes-Benz S-Class starts. So if you guys are looking for an American full-size luxury sedan that's the most fun to drive, that has a really nice back seat, really a lot of tech in the cabin, this is really kind of a great buy. It's a hidden gem, as I said before. So with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2018 Cadillac CT6. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, be sure and subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.